Welcome back to the Pass and Screen Away podcast today. We have this full squad in the house. We got Rocky out in Pocatello.
How's it going?
We got TK in the TikTok Media Production Studio.
What's up, guys?
And Big Peasy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be back.
And with all the intro to all the All-Star game just coming up this week, what's kind of caught your eye with kind of some players that have been snubbed or just, just the team in general? Like, for example, the West team's just loaded. The East team's got all the Hawks players in there. What's kind of caught your eye that you've seen, TK?
I think for the most part, both teams are fair. I really don't think anyone, to me at least, stood out as like distinctive snubs. I don't personally seem to be on the Lillard bandwagon of like an absolute lock to make the team. I definitely think you could have argued him over some of the guards that got picked over him, but to me, it's not like a distinct, miss of him not being on that team. So I think for the most part, I don't have any issue with either team. Obviously, Kobe Bryant being out, replacing him makes it to where, they're really between both squads isn't somebody that like stood out as far as shouldn't have been on the team.
What was kind of your feeling on D-Wade getting on the squad? I mean, obviously he's bald. He's 21-5 for the season this year, but still suffering from hamstring injuries, and Miami hasn't been exactly balling. But, Dwayne Wade's still a great player. Do you guys feel that, he's still that all-star player?
Yeah, I think he's there, especially in the East. I mean, his numbers are still really good. He has a really good old man game that really translates well for him. Because he's still got a really nice mid-range J, and he's a great finisher off the glass inside. But I mean, it's just a case of West and East. Lillard, if you look at who's ahead of him, there's no way you can really take anyone out. Especially because they do it with a certain set amount of forwards, a certain set amount of guards, and so you can't put him over Westbrook or Klay Thompson or James Harden. Like those guys are going to be on the team. But on the flip side, in the East, there's just not a lot of depth at the guard position. So Wade was kind of the obvious choice there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have any problems. I don't think anybody necessarily got snubbed. It just sucks, like we've talked about on a few of the podcasts, is just with all the depth in the West that a guy like Lillard, and I told TK the other day, Mike Conley, he didn't get snubbed, but it'd be nice to see him at some point get rewarded for having such great seasons. But he's in the West, and so it's just so impossible to make the All-Star squad in the West. If Anthony Davis didn't get voted in as a starter, he may not make the team. It just depends on the coaches, the voting, and they take into factor the wins and losses, and all that stuff was evident by the Hawks getting 3. I thought they'd get 2. I liked Teague making the team, and I figured Millsap was. Horford, I wasn't a huge fan of making the team. I think he's a great player. I don't know if he's having an all-star year, but their team's doing good, so they got rewarded.
Yep. Well, and then Wade might get replaced.
Right.
If his hamstring keeps acting up, he will. Who's his replacement if he?
So
if he has to sit out?
Out of the replacements, some players that come in mind. Kyle Korver, a 50-50-90 guy right now. Brandon Knight, Vucevic. Is there any other guys that you guys would throw in the mix, or who would you guys put in there if Wade's not able to play?
I would have put Korver in over Horford to begin with. Just like you said, the 50-50-90. That's never been done, right?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, so that for him to be on pace to do that is just ridiculous. And his numbers may not be as big as some other guys, but again, there's not a lot of depth in the East, and he plays such a crucial role in the Hawks' success that I think he's a logical replacement. But then you have 4 Hawks on the team, and I don't know what I think about that. So I don't know. I guess to answer your question, Chris, I don't know.
I think it's Greg Monroe.
Yeah, he's had a great
the
year.
Moose.
Yeah, he's like, ever since Josh Smith got traded, he's just been amazing. I think he's up there. So
I'd be okay with
surprised. And I was kind of surprised that I know the Pistons are really bad, but I was surprised that they left him off. I thought, just with what he's been doing lately, it was just totally garnered. I mean, he's been outplaying Drummond by far.
I wouldn't be opposed to Brandon Knight getting on the team, though, either. Mm-hmm. They're in the playoffs right now, right?
Yeah, they're in the 6th seed right now, 24 and 22.
He's probably been their most consistent performer. I wouldn't say they have a whole lot of talent around him right now with the injuries and everything that's gone on up there. So, I mean, I think he's had a great year that would justify him being selected.
Does anyone know what Larry Sanders is up to right now? Has there been an update on that? Is he suspended?
I have no idea.
Update on him at all.
Saw him at the Walmart the other day.
Just kicking it. That's what Larry is really good at.
Yeah, I think I think they're just kind of like a leave of absence is what he's on right now.
Well, he got the marijuana again, didn't he? 10-game suspension or something?
That's right.
But is he serving the suspension, or is he still? I have no idea what's even. He's dead to me as far as fantasy hoops goes. I mean,
yeah, he is.
I didn't draft him at all this year, but I tried to. Yeah, I think.
I was feeling good about it. Like, damn, I did it before me, because it was pretty deep in the draft, and I was like, that is a great pick. I mean, it's a ton of upside, and that deep, it doesn't matter. But he's been he doesn't want to play in the NBA. No, he's done. We've had some big 50-point performances over the last week. Klay Thompson's and Kyrie Irving's. Which do you guys stand out? I mean, obviously they're both amazing. They're both different. Kyrie did it against Portland with no LeBron, and Klay just got hot in the third quarter, and he didn't even really play most of the fourth quarter. So for me, I like Klay's better. What kind of stood out with those performances with you guys?
I thought Klay's mine too. I can't remember what he 9 for 9 from the 3-point line in that third quarter, something like that. And 37 points in one quarter is just unbelievable. And the way he gets his points, I mean, it's just catch and shoot. It's like it's crazy. Like you said, there's no LeBron with him. Lillard's not a great defender. 55 is impressive no matter what. But Klay, that's kind of like an all-time quarter. I mean, I don't know if you'll ever see a quarter like that for a while.
And the guy he broke his record, I'm not 100% sure who it was. He was out there and he was saying, how, it was impressive, but not as impressive as his because he did it with no 3-point line. But you still have to give Klay credit for just, like you said, he just, from the 3-point line, he's got such a quick trigger.
Yeah, I mean, half the time he's not even really set. He shoots coming off screens. It's not like a case where he's just spotting up and he's on the move when he takes those shots. And so one of the best pure shooters in the game, probably right behind his backcourt partner, Steph. So
I would have liked to see him just play the rest of the game and try and go for some crazy numbers. I think. Yeah. I mean, I know you got the win and it was a blowout. And so, I mean, you can't go wrong with sitting him. Obviously, if he gets hurt there, you're a fool. But I just like seeing those crazy high-scoring games. And, it was a close game before Klay blew up in the third.
I couldn't even imagine watching it. I remember, I'll never forget, I went to a Jazz game, Mike Miller's rookie year when T-Mac was with the Magic. And Mike Miller scored, he finished the game with 23 points, but I think he probably had like 18 in one quarter. And I just remember watching that game like, this dude is unbelievable. And so to get, that's like 18 and a quarter. I mean, double that. And so I couldn't even imagine like sitting courtside and just watching that happen, unfold in front of you. So that's kind of
the flip side of it.
Okay, go ahead.
On the flip side of it, you've got Kyrie though, 11 trays, so the same amount of trays in the game. And then he hit the game winner too.
That's true.
So I think that was pretty cool that, Klay just crushed them in that third quarter, but it was over after that. But what was cool about Kyrie is that he just kept doing it. And then the clutch time came, and he didn't stop shooting. He just kept doing his thing. So that was pretty impressive. But I was watching it. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering what Lillard did in that game, like box score-wise. Did Lillard go back at him, or?
I saw the highlights, so I don't know. But I was watching the Klay one live, and that was an experience because it was hilarious because I'm, like, watching it, and I'm like, oh, okay, nice. Klay's, he's wet, just like normal. And then, like, another 3 goes in. I'm like, oh, God, like, he's hot. And then, like, 2 more later, I'm like, oh, my God, he's, like, red hot. Like, I start texting CH. And then, like, 3 threes later, I'm like, oh, my God, this is probably the best shooting, display I've ever seen in my life. So it was kind of hilarious. I was, like, kind of laughing every time he hit a shot because he was 13 for 13. And, like, every shot he hit was just, like, kind of laughing. And then he started hitting free throws, and he was just throwing it in the ocean. It was so cool to watch.
And Lillard's box score that night was 14 and 5. So, I mean, Lillard wasn't, couldn't necessarily get it going.
Yeah, I was just wondering because, I mean, Lillard and Kyrie both are not known for their defense, so I wondered if it was one of those things where Lillard went back at him with 30. But, yeah, he held his own on the defensive end as well.
And Cleveland, has been hot lately. I think they've won their last 9 games. None of us were super in love with everything that they did, but it's definitely made them a better team. I mean, TK, do you see them now being legitimate contenders in the East? I mean, I know Atlanta's hot right now, but I mean, can they overcome, everybody else in the East still?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's definitely still in the conversation. A lot of this resurgence is basically started once LeBron James got reinserted back into the lineup after taking a little bit of time off. So he's definitely looked like a different player since coming back. The interesting thing will be if one of these teams in front of them dips a little bit, and I'm meaning more Toronto and Washington, just because as the thing set now, they would be playing Chicago in a best-of-7 series. So
Cleveland, Chicago right now.
Yeah, so like in terms of how far they could get, I mean, they would just be in a dogfight from the first round. And then say in when you're in the 4 or 5, if you advance to that round, well, now you're going to play the Hawks. So, the road as of this moment doesn't look, amazing. So
easy, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, maybe if they match up well with, out of those teams, maybe the Wizards, I guess. They probably match up the best out of those teams. So if they get lucky and draw the right team, or
how come you think they have a good matchup with Washington? I mean, you got Wall. I mean, Washington doesn't get a ton of points in the paint, so maybe that's kind of, they're not like a post-up team at all. Is that what's kind of like? Why do you like Cleveland in that matchup?
I think, and again, it's not like a distinct love for like as far as liking Washington over Chicago as far as being an easier team, but I just think when the game will slow down, I think it's going to be much tougher to score against Chicago's half-court defense when healthy, of course. And so I think, it's just a different animal for me when he's going up against Jimmy Butler than it is versus Paul Pierce at this stage in his career. So between that and I just think that they can get to the rim easier against the bigs of Washington, even though Gortat and Nene are solid. I just would rather be going up against them than I would against Noah and Gasol, when healthy and incorporate and playing at a high level. So that's all. And it's not like, again, it's a distinct advantage. I just think if I were them, I'd prefer to play Washington than I would Chicago.
Definitely, I agree with that for sure.
I think Chicago's the most talented team in the East, but the one thing that their defense is poor right now. That not like you said, the pace could change, things could happen, and they could lock down and start defending well. But right now they're poor defensively.
Why is that?
I mean,
I'm not 100%
like
I don't really understand why it's been so poor.
I don't know either, because you look at each position and they have guys that defend their position pretty well. Really, Derrick Rose is probably the worst defender on the court for them. I wouldn't say he's he's better than Kyrie and Lillard. But you have Powell, you have Noah, you have Taj Gibson off the bench, Tony starting now for WB. Who's a solid defender. Butler's a solid defender. I don't know why, but there's something not clicking with the Bulls. And I know Tibbs is under a ton of pressure right now. In the media, everybody's killing him. So I don't know. I definitely wouldn't want to play the Bulls in a series at all. But something's just not right with them right now.
And another top team that's kind of, on the flip side, we talked about Cleveland and Chicago, and back west, it's still the same thing. The 8 spots still Phoenix at 4 games. Oklahoma City in their last 10 games is 6-4. Do you guys still believe in OKC?
I do.
Well, I do. It's just, again, like take for example, they're playing Memphis tonight. They're down 11 with 4 minutes, 47 seconds. I know there's still a lot of time, but at the same time, because of the record of where everyone else in the West is, it's like every loss is starting to add up at this point. So obviously the talent is there for them. If someone's going to get hot and win like 20 in a row, they definitely have just as good of a chance as anybody. But at the same time, it's probably not realistic versus going against all these West teams to put together 20 wins. Obviously the Hawks have done a pretty good job of winning when they came to the West as part of this win streak. But, it's just one of those things where, the more they could, get a loss here, a loss there, it's just going to make it that much tougher. So, and I know obviously Reggie Jackson's been in the trade rumors, so I guess it's definitely possible they could, substantially upgrade the roster. And I know that Brook Lopez deal has been out there. So I guess I think they need to make a move though, So
I don't like the Waiter move. The Waiters move. I know that. I mean, long term, they're looking maybe he could replace Reggie Jackson, but you had a guy that was playing at really an all-star level prior to when Westbrook was hurt or got back from his injury, and now they've relegated him to like 15, 20 minutes off the bench.
right.
You know, so I don't think that really makes a lot of sense. So that's the one thing reason I don't think they may not get back in the playoffs is because of that move right there. I mean, I thought that Reggie Jackson as a sixth man was like a great deal for them. If you look at the box scores now, he's just irrelevant for them.
He is. It's crazy. I'm surprised I haven't seen him on the waiver wire yet.
And they recently lost to the Knicks, and Russell dropped 40. And, no one else really played well. And Russell was extremely frustrated after that game. After the game, him and Carmelo Carmelo was trying to say what up to him, and Russell wasn't really having it at all. And it's kind of, he's such a competitive, fiery guy. It's like, if they continue to struggle and, the moves they make don't work out, you just wonder what lies ahead for Oklahoma.
Blowing it up. That's my prediction.
Well, they're 4 games back right now, right, of the 8th seed, and then they're 2 games back in the 9th seed, which is the Pelicans. And we were talking about this earlier. We don't really believe in, or have faith in them taking down Phoenix or OKC, but
they are only 2 back, so I mean,
yeah, it's true. But we got to
get
think,
enough wins.
OKC 4 games
Really,
out can do that, but
what are they out of the 7th seed and 6th and 5th and 4th? I mean, really, that's all the same at this point, isn't it? In the Western Conference.
Yeah, that part of is starting to condense a little bit.
It definitely is. I mean, I think it's an extra 2 games, maybe 3 games from 8 to 7.
Yeah, it's
so
7.5.
It's still pretty bogged up. You're right.
Phoenix is 10.
But you have Spurs and Dallas and Houston kind of in those areas.
And Portland's dropped, like we talked last time, and I think Portland's going to drop. I just, it's been their MO for the last 3 years. I could see them drop like 7th seed at this point, just because the West is so tight. I mean, you lose 2 games and you go from 2nd to 7th. So.
Yeah, their last 10, they're 3-7, which is not good.
They're losing earlier tonight to the Bucks. I haven't checked the score lately, but they're down to the Bucks too.
And we've been talking about how OKC doesn't have it going, but they're 6-4 in their last 10 compared to that. So.
And they have Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Like he's been hurt. He came back. Yeah. Once he gets his rhythm, I mean, last year you look at the run he had in the middle of the season, which was like an all-time run. All it takes is one more run like that, and next thing you know, they're 10-0 in their last 10, and they're in the 6th seed. So I just think talent will trump out, and they will jump Phoenix. Like we said, New Orleans, I'm not really even considering as a playoff contender. And I'm not totally sold on Phoenix either. I mean, that's some of the reason why, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see Phoenix make a move. They have so much talent on that team, and I feel like, they're, the right piece away from being, a legit team.
Yeah.
Yeah, you flip one of those point guards and, some other young talent they have on that team and try to get a superstar.
Yeah, and Len, like TK's boy Len's proven his worth. He's a solid center. I think that, like you said, they are one move away. But again, it's this multiple piece thing that we've talked about before. They've got like 3 of everything, and I hope that they don't fall into like the Denver Nuggets syndrome.
Well, I think what they should do is they should trade Isaiah Thomas or Dragic to the Lakers for Wayne Ellington. So, however we can work that out. However we can work that out, let's make that happen.
And then they get hurt on the way to the trade, so we can, lock down that 5 spot.
The Lakers need everything besides. I mean, they're so far away right now.
They're like not even worth talking about, really. They're that bad.
They are that bad. There's a couple teams, them, the Knicks, the Sixers. I mean, they're just bad. Like I said, I know last time we talked the T-Wolves, and I made them sound like they're good and they're the worst team record-wise in the NBA, but I still would rather see a team that has a bunch of young talent and they're running them out for 40 minutes a game and watching players visibly get better, like Wiggins is really balling. Like, he's getting better every single week. And I just wish the Lakers had some young talent to do that with. Randall, that's just like a shot to the nuts, losing him for the year. Because
he's playing 35 a night right now.
It'd be bearable. Yeah, it'd be bearable right now if you were watching him get better, and next thing you know, he's getting like 18 and 9, and you're just like, well, man, he's going to be a monster. But you don't even have that to fall back on. So,
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, man.
yeah.
So who? I know we talked about on one of our first podcasts about who our MVP candidates were. So I wanted to find out who everyone's MVP candidate was. About halfway through the season so far.
I'm kind of on what TK's been saying from the fucking very start, and that's Stephen Curry. And I know you have a deep team. You have Klay Thompson there too, but he is just a magician. He's just magical.
Yeah, it's Steph for me. I watched him last night against the Jazz, and Klay's great, but Steph is so far superior to him just as a player. Like offensively, Klay's probably better defensively for sure, but I mean offensively, Steph could do whatever he wants whenever he wants, where Klay kind of needs to be facilitated a little bit and stuff like that. So Steph he's the best offensive player in the league, I think, other than Durant. That's how I feel.
And I remember him saying at one point, how he was better than LeBron, and everyone was kind of like, whoa, Steph's crazy. And then you watch him play now, and he has, arguably the slickest handle, the best J. He's left-handed, right-handed, swoop passes, like, all over the court. I mean, it's amazing.
And when I say that offensively, I mean, like, you look at the fact that he can dunk, I think. I don't know if I've ever seen him
He's got a dunk this year. He's got a dunk.
Does he? Yeah, I mean, but his vertical, I mean, you compare him to Russell Westbrook, like gifted, like athletically and stuff like that, he's nowhere in the ballpark. And to be honest, he's a below average point guard athletically in the league with all the athletes they have. And so for him to be able to get his shot off against Westbrook the way he did last time they played OKC, I mean, he had Westbrook just chasing his tail. And so, like we said, his handles, his ability to drive and pull up, shoot teardrops, right, left, whatever, and then have a 30-foot range. I just don't know if there's another player in the league that offensively has that arsenal.
What about you, TK? Who you going with?
You know what? I'm actually going to go against what I said as far as who I picked preseason, but I just think what the Rockets have done with just, considering a lot of things, considering that Dwight Howard's been in and out of lineup, considering that I still don't think they have that good of a bench. They really don't have that good of a supporting cast as a whole compared to some of these other teams. And the fact that they're third in the West right now, I just think that, a lot of these games that James Harden's had to carry them. Obviously, I know Steph's played very well, and and the team itself is much better. But I think just given the fact that the second best player hasn't been there for a good chunk of the season, I just think that from what he's done to put them in the third spot with the teams that he's gone up against, and like I was bringing up the depth that they have, I think I would personally go James Harden.
Interesting. Okay.
James is just so consistent. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. He's just every night he just gets it done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's leading the league in scoring there too.
I think I was thinking about this. Probably gonna go with Rory, the president, the manager of my fantasy team, just because of the pure talent that I've been able to amass on my team. I think you guys should be really worried about the playoffs coming up. So just wanted to put that in there. But yeah, definitely it's James Harden for sure for me. I agree with TK because just like the pure magic that he creates when he's on the court, and his assists are fucking insane. I think he leads the league in 3 points made and also 3 points made after a pass, like from your pass. So assisted to a 3-pointer. So he's just like crushing it as far as just creating for everybody on his team, as well as just getting leading the league in points on his own. So I like that a lot too, and I just feel like the Rockets team is not even close to as good as Golden State's team, but they're pretty close to them. They're not quite as good, obviously, but I think they have a shot to come out of the West if Dwight comes back and all those young power forwards they have are really good. And if Patrick Beverly and Ariza can stay healthy, those guys can go pretty far, I think. So
go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Harden though, because I just think he's had the best half of the season so far.
He's had a great season. I mean, I totally see that. I just think, again, a little bit, the Warriors, you look at the record. I mean, that the pace they're on, they're winning 82% of their games.
Yeah,
at one point, they're on
record so far. I think.
Yeah, they're at one point on pace to win 70 games. They've probably dipped a little bit on that with their loss last night, but it's just insane. And I know a lot of it's coaching, a lot of it's they have all the right pieces in place, but they're able to play a style that is like transcendent that in a lot of terms we've never seen before because of what Steph and Klay too both can do as far as stretching the court. I mean, their range is just, it's unbelievable. Those
What?
two.
How about Atlanta's record? Like 4 games better than theirs. Atlanta's 40-8.
I know.
That's insane.
It is insane, and I would like to just say it was because of the East, but they've beaten a lot of Western Conference teams this last couple weeks.
They really have.
And so, I like what Allen's doing. I still, though, like TK said, I'd rather face Atlanta than Chicago in the playoffs.
That's a good point. I mean, you have Chicago's a problem, and Atlanta, they're not going to kill you in the paint. They got a great team. They play great continuity, but as the game slows down in the playoffs and you need those half-court buckets, and, are they going to be able to win a 7-game series, against Chicago? Yeah. It's going to be a battle.
Well, I just view it like, when's the last NBA champion that didn't have a superstar on it? It's been the Pistons are probably the closest thing to it.
The Rip Hamilton ones?
Yeah, but Rasheed Wallace was as talented as a superstar. He just didn't really care enough to put up huge numbers. And then Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, and then Ben Wallace. I would say that's a more talented foursome than what the Hawks have. But other than that, like every team that wins it has some legit superstar. And I think that will end up biting the Hawks in the butt, even though I would like to see the Hawks do really well because they play a very attractive style. And I'm a big Jeff Teague fan too.
And Schroeder gives him good minutes.
Yeah.
He's gotten better. Scott gives him good minutes. And, Annick's a smaller, undersized center. You'd like to see him get, another center to help with Horford. At least someone who can block shots. But, Atlanta's a problem. They move the basketball, and they're great on defense with pick and rolls with their lineup. They can trap and switch, and, they're a problem right now. Have they won 19 in a row?
I don't know what they're at. I just know that it's insane. When I didn't even really pay any attention to it until last week when I looked at the box score, like Roy was mentioning, because I was kind of looking at the Warriors clip to see if they could hit 70. And I looked at the Hawks and I was like, what the hell? Where did they come from? You know what I mean? Because I didn't have any idea they were killing it like that. I knew they were winning games, but it's insane the way they're winning
19
games.
in a row after the win in Philadelphia tonight. Horford had 23 and 11 and 4 and 3 blocks. And Teague threw up a 10-7. It was
Philly's a joke. Philly's an absolute joke.
They barely goes by Philly. Philly's getting more competitive, though. Like I said, I'll never root for them again. But their games are closer. Last year and the beginning of this year, it was like a 30-point blowout every game.
I've never seen a team mess up so many 3-and-1 fast breaks. It's like, not everyone can be by the ball and attack the rim. Sometimes they are so frustrating to watch, and they got, they're another team. They're trying to blow it up, and they've whiffed on some of their draft picks, and they don't have a superstar even close.
Yeah, that kind of gets me. I was thinking about this today, and we can kind of segue into this. They've whiffed on their drafts. You look at Carter Williams, and everybody's really big on him, but we look at like Conley and Lillard, Teague even, all these point guards that are better than him that are borderline or if not all-stars. I don't think Carter Williams is in the top half of point guards in the league. So what are they going to do when it's time to extend him? Are they going to pay up for him?
Can he improve? He's such a bad...
His shot is...
He does his mid-range game isn't very good, and his shot isn't very good. Can he still improve on that? Because he's still a young player.
I don't think he can. You look at guys in the past that have Jason Kidd and stuff, but his shot is... I've never seen a guy airball as many shots as him. He'll miss shots by 2-3 feet. In like 2 or 3 a game, to where you're just like, it's unbearable. If he was playing on any other team, they wouldn't even let him shoot. But he's playing on the Sixers where it doesn't even matter. And so what I'm kind of getting at is, like, when he's up, by the time Embiid's healthy, by the time this other guy from Europe comes over, is it Saric or something like that?
Saric.
How are they gonna invest money into extensions for these guys? Or even Noel, we talked about his post game is like unbearably bad.
He hit a face-up J the other night, and he switched it, and it was about 5 feet away. He faced and popped it, and I was absolutely stunned. I mean, it wasn't pretty by any means, but it went in.
I sent it to CH and TK, Roy. I don't think I sent it to you, but there's a Vine out there of him throwing an alley-oop.
It's so bad.
And he throws the alley-oop off of the shot clock. And he saw the guy cutting, and that was like the best he could do.
He has a motor, though. I want to see him improve because he plays really hard.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. He's a fantastic. I think he could be a great role player, defender, all those things. But again, you're blowing it up like a 10-year process, hoping that not for like a role player. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to strike a gold, and none of the picks they've had so far are going to be guys that change this franchise. You know what I mean? And so, but what I got on is, like we were talking the other day, how the hell did Hassan Whiteside, how was he in the D-League?
Rory was talking about him just hanging out at the rec, getting his game tight before he got the ball.
It wasn't even playing pro ball. He was just
and he's
working on
out
his game with the rec.
dominating right now.
Yeah, and so that, you look at Rudy Gobert in Utah, Jang in Minnesota, Alex Len in Phoenix. There's more talented big men in the league, like up and coming, than I've remembered for a while. I mean, they're obviously not at like the superstar level of Cousins or Dwight Howard was, but I mean, there's been a lot of years in the league where there's just been a bunch of stiffs playing center, and there's a lot of talent coming up, but it's like, how the hell have the Sixers missed on all these?
And out of that entire rookie class, I mean, who's your rookie of the year right now? I mean, probably Andre Wiggins, but Peyton's played really well also.
Wiggins he's been putting up some really big numbers lately. He had like 20 in the
He had 33
quarter.
tonight, dude. He killed it tonight, fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, Wiggins, if you look at his numbers, he's progressively gotten better and better and better, and I think he's going to run away with Rookie of the Year. Because,
it's not even close.
You look at his numbers. Yeah, you look at his numbers. They're pretty impressive for a rookie.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Wiggins, I don't think anyone expected him to turn it on this quick.
No.
Especially how he started. He started really slow. But, man, he's just really caught on. He just looks comfortable. He does take a lot of hard shots. A couple times I watched him, I was just like, dude, like, you're making it hard on yourself. Once he figures that out, he can shoot over 50% and score 25 a night.
Sometimes
he looks really mechanical.
Yeah, he does.
Like, you want to prove to everyone that you can shoot, so you're kind of shooting every time you got a shot, you know?
Shooting the hard shot just to like be like, man,
like
I can hit
a step back, so I'm going to take it. Like, kind of like Derrick Rose at the end of that Laker game. Like, he can hit that, but you don't want to see him take that necessarily, you know?
Not then, no.
But I'm saying, like, even from the standpoint of, like, you see some guys like jumpers, and they're just really fluid. Like, Jabari is more of a fluid player. Even Zach, that's why I like Levine a lot, because he just looks the part.
Smooth.
Like, really smooth. Wiggins almost looks like he has little, like, his movement is, like, more rigid and those kind of things. Then he just doesn't seem as natural. A fantastic player, though. He's going to be great. I think that he's going to just keep getting better and better.
Shit,
and that's what
he's 19.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so that's what I'm saying is you look at them, and I know Marcus Smart and some of these guys aren't the quality of player that Wiggins is probably, or have the potential as him, but you're bad. Play him 40 minutes, let him get better throughout the year. Let him get his ass kicked, let him get better, and kind of throw him to the water and test his character a little bit, instead of playing these guys like 20 minutes and babying them through the rookie season and still losing games.
Do you guys think Anthony Bennett, he's kind of buried on Minnesota's bench? Do you guys see him like blossoming him into a starter? TK, do you watch a lot of Minnesota games?
Yeah, I do. I guess it's
Sounds like a horrible life, dude.
Yes, actually, I catch every one.
right. Unfortunately, I see probably more than I should, but um, I guess it's really just an opportunity thing. He would have to get some minutes to get a better feel for what he's actually 100% capable of doing. But because he started, like, as far as last year, just kind of, basically irrelevant for his rookie year, it's just kind of hard at this point to see him just getting a perfect situation where he's going to get a lot of minutes. He would obviously benefit from, say, a Thaddeus Young getting traded to a contender. So I just think it's too hard to say without, giving him a fair chance of 35 minutes, to see what he could potentially prove. So
he's got some game. I mean, he had a putback the other night, just kind of underneath the hoop and just instantly jumped up and put back. But
right.
Like you said, TK, he just really hasn't got much of an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's not to say that he should, that he should get his fair. Basically, I'm not saying like he should be getting 35 minutes right now, but without getting those minutes, it's pretty much impossible to kind of gauge. And real quick on this though, and we can continue on the Bennett in a sec, but. Are any of you guys familiar with this Lorenzo Brown who played 48 minutes for the T-Wolves today?
Yeah, he played at NC State, I believe, either last year or the year before, and he was a really good player at NC State. Like, he was a solid point guard.
Okay, yeah. The only reason I've never seen this guy before, I've never even heard of the guy. So I saw he 48 minutes. He was 0 for 5 with like 9 assists. So I don't even know what his skill set even is. But
that was his game at NC State, pretty much. Like, I think he led the ACC in assists and was probably the best player on a really good NC State squad. And he could probably develop into like a backup point guard in the NBA, I think.
Oh, okay.
He kind of left early, if I remember right.
He might have been a junior when he took off. Yeah.
Oh, so that's not early at all.
Yeah.
College.
So it sounds like the skill set of like Elfrid Payton.
Yeah, I think Peyton's probably more talented than him, but he's a guy who could go in, run the show, and make sure your second unit, you don't lose points on your second unit. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to be a fantastic, but I think he's got a place in the NBA if he's stuck at it.
So while we're kind of talking about Minnesota, out of that team, they got some, viable trade assets for teams, trying to bolster their roster for the playoffs. Who's the most likely guy on Minnesota to get shipped out?
I'll jump in there. I would say Thaddeus Young just because of the contract. I think
What's his deal look like?
I believe he's out. He's up after this year. So
he's expired this year.
Yeah. So I don't believe like if you were to trade for him, you'd only have to get like a first round pick or something like that. I think in a perfect world, they prefer to move Pekovic out of everybody, but he's going to be tougher to trade because of his contract. So I would just say Thaddeus Young essentially by default. You could obviously throw Kevin Martin in the mix, but I would go with Thaddeus Young just simply because if you bought him, it would just be for a flyer, for one of these back end, or not back end, but one of the top end West teams to throw their late first rounder to see if he can bolster and get them over the hump.
I think it's Mo Williams. Yeah. There's a lot of people who are after him. There's, even report came out with the team stream saying that, a lot of contenders are coming after him. It mentioned 3 teams. I think it was the Clippers and the Rockets and somebody else. Of course, the Rockets are interested.
Yeah, that'd be a good fit in Houston.
The Pistons were too, I believe, just because what Jennings went down. That's what I read, at least.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense for them, too.
Memphis wouldn't be a bad home for him.
Is there a better backup point guard in the league? Seriously.
Than Mo Williams?
Yeah. Can you think of one?
I mean, unless you consider like Crawford,
Reggie Jackson maybe, I guess. But I guess like a pure point guard that runs your team. I mean, he's like I said, he's borderline. He could be a top 2/3 of the league point guard, starting point guard for some of these teams. To have him come off your bench on a contending team would be just a huge upgrade, I think.
Definitely.
But Thaddeus Young,
he's just proven, like he's pretty much done it his whole career. He's steady. He consistently hits shots. He makes big shots. He's not scared.
He runs the team. I mean, when I watched him play for the T-Wolves, everything's so much easier for their like perimeter players because he hits them like on time, catchable balls around picks, and he's just he's a proven vet. Like you said, he's going to get moved. That's a no-brainer. Thaddeus Young probably would. I have a lot of respect for Thaddeus Young because I remember watching again way too many Sixer games last year as well because of the fantasy, and that dude was busting ass. He was playing harder than anybody on the court on the worst team in the league that's pretty much trying to trade him, just to get him out of here. And he was just way professional about it. So I imagine him going into a locker room on a contending team he would be just like a huge upgrade in a lot of categories off the court as well.
He just kind of has that quiet frustration when you watch him play in Minnesota right now. Like he's playing hard, like you said, but
right.
He's doesn't really say anything.
He's never been on a winning team.
Yeah. It's too bad, actually.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? He was on that winning team with they made the playoffs with Iguodala.
Yeah.
Iguodala hit those big free throws.
You're right.
But then they blew it up from there, and they are what they are now.
The Bucks are up 20 on the Blazers right now as we speak.
I know. I was watching this. It's disgusting. And like the Thunder tonight only put up 74 points.
Ouch.
Oh my god, dude! You can't win.
Is there no Durant tonight?
He played.
He played, man.
Yeah.
It's so strange to me.
Westbrook only had 14 and Durant only had 15. Weird.
They're going to blow that up. I just have a feeling. I just think that he's just too big to be the second man, and his personality won't let it, and he's starting to show some of his warts as far as a lot of 7 for 25 game type shooting performances. And I think the frustration and everything, if they don't get back into the playoffs, it's just going to, I think it's going to happen. And I'm not totally opposed to it either because, like I said, I would love to see Westbrook, the man, on his own team.
Mm-hmm.
I think he
like
could
Harden
be.
had.
Yeah.
Who do you think's better, Harden or Westbrook?
Westbrook, in my opinion, but just
I think so,
because
too.
he plays both sides of the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Westbrook leading the league in steals.
Yeah, and that's where we get really big on Harden and all these guys, but that's what's made LeBron so good for a lot of years. His defense is kind of fallen off a little bit, but he could defend. He's equally valuable on the defensive side. There's not a lot of players like that in the league, and I think Westbrook's one of them.
Yeah, I agree. Jimmy Buckets is like that.
Yeah,
Jimmy Buckets definitely plays both,
Klay
especially
Thompson.
now. Gotten better.
Klay
Thompson.
Yeah.
You know the thing about Harden though, which has impressed me, I didn't notice it until I was talking to Harden about a trade, but he averages a block a game this year from the two-guard spot. Like that's impressive, considering like as many jokes as there have been about his defense, plus the fact that he's a two-guard. Not a lot of two-guards ever block a shot a game. I think him and Klay Thompson are the only ones doing that right now. So it's pretty impressive.
And he's a two-steal guy a game too, or he's right around there if not. But like you said, ISO basketball, and you had one-on-one with Harden or Russell. That's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah,
there. So, even though the numbers are improved, and he's definitely given out a lot of effort on the defensive end, but Russell is a superior player on defense.
And that's I watched one game, and I remember it was Grievous with the Pelicans last year, 2 years ago.
2 years,
2.5, because he was on the Kings before that too.
I don't know why Westbrook has so much hatred towards that dude, but he just mauled him up Westbrook wouldn't let him get it up the court. Grievous could not move against him, and obviously he's not as athletic and doesn't have the handles like Steph or Kyrie or something. But when he's checked in and defending, it's just he's a terror on that side of the court.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching him in the Olympics. When he was really starting to figure out who he was the man.
Yeah,
and he was just going at people, all the European guys and all the foreigners. He was just intimidating those guys. They couldn't even get it past half court. It was like watching a varsity team play like a sixth grade team. It was hilarious.
He just hates everybody.
He does.
That's why I
awesome.
like him a lot. Like Cousins, they just don't. They're not there. They're not out there trying to be your friend. They want to hurt you, in a competitive way, and sometimes over emotional too. Both of them have their moments of what the fuck are you doing,
But like you're saying about Cousins, he's like must watch television. Like anytime he's on, I'm like,
He's a
even
train
if they're
wreck.
losing by 18, like I like
Yeah,
to
but
watch
he's
him.
must watch it even because he is a train wreck. You know,
Mhm.
like him and J.R. Smith were just going at it verbally the other night.
Oh man, that's great.
He just Cousins. I remember watching the Chris Humphries game last year, and he does not like Chris Humphries, and I don't know how. Seriously, I don't know how he didn't get tossed. He did get tossed, I think, like with like 10 seconds left, but he was all but throwing punches at Chris Humphries in the post for like a quarter and a half, and it was like he intimidated the refs so much that they didn't want to tee him up, but he was just deliberately like hitting him in the back of the head and just like everything he could do to just hit him, and you're just like, this dude has got a screw loose. He's just not all there.
Yeah, dude.
He really. That's how I feel watching him. He's just a train wreck, and it's unfortunate in some cases because he could maybe be one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league if he was checked in.
I want to
But,
see him in the playoffs. I do. I mean, I he's not obviously. Then it's not going to happen this year, but I want
No.
to see him play some playoff ball.
They need some.
Yeah.
He needs some help, man. Like they have one of the biggest gaps when like his plus minus when he's on the floor for any
What's
team.
his contract situation, TK?
Who's that, Cousins?
They max
Cousins.
extended him last
Recently.
year.
Yeah,
Last
2
year.
years ago he got a max. It was
Yeah.
either last year or the year before. So
And TK, this is kind of your, specialty. For Sacramento, what's kind of a deal that can, make a guy like Cousins happy to, let him remind him that, hey, we are on the right path here.
well, I think they'd have to do one of 2 things. They'd have to either shore up the shooting guard position or they'd have to shoot the power forward position. And the issue with both of them is they would have to get somebody to take on Derek Williams or Jason Thompson. And so
Not assets.
definitely not people that are anyone's going to be raising their hand as far as so because of that, they're really restricted financially, but they do have some moves that they could make. They could throw in their first round pick and get a little creative, but someone would have to either take on them. They have Macklemore, Stauskas. The problem with them is that they're on that rookie contract, so when you're matching contracts for a team like Sacramento that's over the cap, it becomes more tricky. So
Yeah.
I think that's the things. They'd have to get somebody to take on like Thompson or Derek Williams, who both are making a little over $7 million. So that's kind of the hurdle at this point.
Well, same with Landry too.
Right.
Landry's right there.
Landry in there too.
It's
So-
like their favorite type of player to put on their team is like the above average power forward,
right. So
And
that's-
not even above
that's
average, like
creative.
average.
Mhm.
Like Jason Thompson, we were joking about this the other night. Like, has he ever gotten better since he came in the league? Like, ever? Does he have
tapped
any
out in
skills that
high
he didn't
school,
have?
He's just the same player,
Oh man, and he's got the body. He's tall. He's coordinated, and he sucks.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, they would have to get, this is just more of an example, but say a team like the Sixers or something like that had cap space. The only way that they can entice teams like that to really absorb them is they'd have to be willing to throw in that first-round pick, which, at this point it's looking like a top 8 pick or the potential to be a top 8 pick. So, obviously, from that perspective, you have to make a decision. But at the same time, if they do keep the pick, history's pretty much shown that they pretty much have whiffed on a lot of these picks. So at the same time, it's like, if the offer's there,
Hey, Isaiah panned out at the last pick.
Right. So, that's the thing. They have the creativity if they want to go that route. But, obviously we've talked about their owner before. So it's going to be one of those tricky situations. If they're willing to go down that route, they have the option. But that's obviously a decision that they're going to have to decide on.
And if you don't hire a coach that DeMarcus Cousins can respect, and, Mark Malone was that guy, and they made a huge mistake hiring him, Cousins is just, anything can happen from night to night,
Right.
I just feel like the probably best case scenario to solve the problem is make DeMarcus the coach and the GM. Let him call all the shots.
I like
happy.
it. I like
He'd be
it.
checked in. He would, yeah.
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
the dude is like, he's just. I thought he made a lot of strides until they fired the coach Malone, and then I watched him play the Celtics, and he got tossed out of that game, and it was the same thing as the Humphreys game. It was like he was trying to get tossed for like 2 quarters before they finally threw him out. And then there's another vine of him too. I don't know if I sent that to you guys, but he's got his hands on his knees at the free throw line, and the ball, they got like 22 seconds left on the shot clock, and they're moving the ball. They're like trying to get him to post up and throw the ball into him, and he sat at the free throw line with his back to the ball with his hands on his knees for 22 seconds and wouldn't even look at the ball. And it's like he was just telling his teammates, I don't even like you guys. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he just the ultimate disrespect that a guy like Kobe can get away with because of his like past,
success, but it's all about like being in the right spots, and he, like where you're drafted is crucial. Like, I mean, finally have a good coach and they get rid of you, so the organization is so important where you get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess here's a question for you. So the Lakers, obviously, I've told CH I think that Westbrook's ultimately going to land with the Lakers. I just feel like
I hope so.
I think it's going to happen. He's an LA kid. I think that things are just not going to work out OKC. They're going to blow it up and he'll find a way there. But Cousins, if he became available, would you want to build your team around Cousins?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
What about you, TK?
Obviously player dependent, but yeah, I think just from a talent standpoint, I would. If I was to build around him, I guess I feel I have confidence that I'd find the coach to complement him. So that's why I think that would hinder my decision to feel very comfortable building him, because I feel like I would know what he would need to position him to succeed. So a lot of my answers based off of that, more than just the logistics of like his past and obviously headbutting with coaches. I just think that me being a GM, I could find the coach to complement him.
Yeah, I mean, like if Cousins is in Dallas, you can't tell me that Cousins isn't like, a role model, like Carlisle would definitely
go that far.
No, Cousins would have his button up tight and he'd be all
He'd be helping his teammates up off the floor at least,
But I mean, guys like Carlisle, guys like Popovich, guys like Doc Rivers, those guys can clean guys up and really help them. Like look what Doc Rivers did for DeAndre Jordan,
And that's something you said, Rocky, earlier in the podcast. Like you have to pay top dollar for good coaching because, it's pretty small percentage-wise. Like what's the percentage of coaches right now that are high level out of the
5%.
entire NBA?
5% maybe. I mean, 10%, I guess. I don't know. Not very many. That's the one thing. I've had the league pass for 4 years now, and more than like seeing different players and them being like better or worse than I thought, like the coaching has stuck out to me like horrible. Like Jock Vaughn. Oh man, that guy is so
bad.
Yeah, he is. And even Jason Kidd. I mean, he's got the Bucks in the playoffs, but he's clueless. He really is. You look at some of the guys they're rolling out. Like Willie Green played like 20, 30 minutes tonight, and Peyton played like 25.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
No, why do you play Willie Green? I mean, he's going to give you defense, and you know that, but I mean, they're not in a spot where you even need that. I mean, you want young players to get minutes.
Well, what's he doing with Tobias Harris?
That's what I'm saying. He played like 26 minutes tonight.
It's like he's your best player, man. Him and Vuk are like by far your best players. Get him on the court.
And he's an unrestricted free agent after this year, right? TK?
Yep.
You know that.
Oh my God.
So
I'm
it's
pretty
like,
sure he's a free agent.
So that's what I'm getting at with the coaching thing. It's like pay the money to get a coach. Don't just hire some ex-player or whatever, or just some guy to do it. Go get a legit coach.
Yep.
Because, and really right now, if you look at it, the Spurs coaching tree is like a pretty proper way to go. I mean, Atlanta, what's his name in Atlanta? Is it I can't even say it.
Something.
Yeah. He's a Popovich assistant. The Philly guy's a Popovich assistant. We don't even know what's going on there.
Mm-hmm,
but
Brett Brown.
Yeah, but it's like you just have to have a coach. Like you said, it can cure a lot of things with like players. I think Phil Jackson as a coach, his X and O's were probably like less than his ability to get Kobe and Shaq to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
speaking of
a lot of bad coaches.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of shitty coaches, are you guys on board with me that by our next podcast that Brian Shaw, will be shown the door?
Him or Josh Vaughn first.
On Thursday, they played, I can't remember who they played. They scored 69 points. It wasn't anyone.
Memphis. They played Memphis.
Was it Memphis? Okay.
Yep.
And then today at halftime, they scored 30 points at half versus the Hornets. I just think that obviously the team is just, giving up on him, which is fine, or whatever the case is. I'm not necessarily saying that all this is his fault, but I just think he's obviously lost the locker room to the point to where I'd say by our next podcast he's shown the door at this point.
Yeah, he's like the
Jacques
ultimate
Vaughn,
assistant
too.
coach. Jacques Vaughn, they already came out and said, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
probably going to lose your job in the next couple of days."
Yeah.
Like that report
that's
was
how
funny.
bad it is. Like, and I know the Brad Stevens, he's got a lot more leeway on things, and we kind of there's two sides of the story on that. Like, some people agree with what he's doing, some people don't. But I just don't get, Gerald Wallace is getting like 10 minutes games.
Why
It's
even
like,
play him?
Yeah,
Why
does
does
he
he
need
ever
10
play?
minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what's that even do? And, Marcus Smart's, they're running Evan Turner out at the point guard, and it's like, how many years have you seen this fail with Evan Turner everywhere he's gone? So it's like, you have a top 5 pick that you invested into a point guard of the future. You traded Rajon Rondo. Just play him. Like TK said, if he can't play, it's going to get exposed, and then you know what you can do in the future with it. But the coaching thing is just, it drives me nuts watching the league pass.
So I have a question for you guys. So who is the waiver wire pickup of the year so far for you guys? Out of anybody. Not necessarily for your team, but like out of any player.
Hassan Whiteside, if he stays playing like this, I think CH has got him. The numbers are insane.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't believe that no one picked him up. Like,
Yeah.
that's just crazy. And then for him to come out like this is it's just one of the stories of the season so far.
Yeah, and I know it's only been a month, so a lot of things could happen. There's probably guys that have been longer, more consistent over the course of the whole year, but he's just, he could put up top 15 value at this rate if he stays playing like this.
Yeah, his numbers are kind of like Drummond's almost.
They're better, I think.
They're
'Cause,
better,
One game he
'cause-
had 12 blocks, I think.
Yeah.
Because he does it
Yeah.
in 25, 30 minutes. He's not like he's playing, even mid-30s, Whiteside.
Uh-huh.
He had 14 rebounds in the first quarter of last game.
Yeah.
In 8 minutes, he had 14 rebounds.
I think my guy's Draymond Green because he was on the waiver on both of our leagues.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's for sure. Yeah, I'd say that's solid for sure.
And, Draymond just fills it up.
Draymond does fill it up. I'm watching this game right now, and he's just
Do
already
you
got a
have him
couple.
do you have him on your team, Rory?
I traded for him last night from CH. I gave CH Rondo for Draymond.
What's his numbers look like since D. Lee's came back? Have they took any sort of dip or?
Not really.
His goodies are still there, and he's rebounding, but he's not scoring as much.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
We
his
talked about-
consistency's tailed off since
Definitely.
since he's been there. Not necessarily like he's been horrible, but I think it's been a little
Not as many big games.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I was watching. We talked about that one podcast, what D. Lee was going to do, and we all kind of came to the conclusion it wasn't a bad thing. Draymond Green would stay starting, and it was a positive thing to have a guy like D. Lee off the bench. And is there another guy in the league? What game was it this last week that he went against the Bulls? He almost put up a triple-double in 25 minutes.
Right.
Like, he's the ultimate stat collector, and that doesn't mean that he's like an all-star player or better than Draymond Green. But to have him as your third or fourth big is definitely a luxury, I think.
Uh-huh.
He's
Absolutely.
playing with so much energy off the bench, too.
Yeah.
His 20 minutes are amazing.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
I
thing
agree.
is he's accepted his role, and so I think the Warriors can win it.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
And let's kind of switch the subject to back to the All-Star game. And Zach LaVine's going to put on the show in the dunk contest. But for me, I'm really excited about the three-point contest. They have 5 amazing contestants: Steph Curry, Klay, JJ Redick, Kyle Korver, Wes Matthews. Who's your guys' pick to take down the three-point contest?
Wes Math.
That you got, Rory?
Yeah, I'm going to take the dark horse, Wes Math.
Yeah, that's definitely the dark horse out of that group. I would say is just pure shooter, probably not. But the three-point shooting contest is totally different. It's not.
Right. Well, and I just think he's like a microwave, he can get
Yeah.
red hot. And if he hits that first rack, then it's just like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
It's going to be a great contest, though. This literally is where they got all the best shooters in the league to play in it. At least, 5 of the top 10 shooters, Because sometimes
got
they have those
Kyle
weird
Korver.
guys in there. Yeah, Korver.
I think he's probably the actual, if they were just going to shoot a, spot up shoot 10 balls, I think he'd probably be the best shooter of the whole group. Steph is different in Klay because, they can shoot
game shoot better, I think, as far as with guys keying on them. But that is, like you said, that's definitely 5 of the best shooters in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Klay because he shoots so fast. He's going to get through those racks in a blink of an eye. And if he can get hot and reel them off, I would just love to see Klay hit 3 racks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the guys, who was the 4th? Klay, Steph,
JJ Redick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that none of them are jump shooters, which is like to their advantage. Steph and Wes Matthew almost kind of shoot a set shot. Same with Klay. And so they're going to be able to go through those racks. I remember Ray Allen struggled in some of the 3-point shootouts because he's a jump shooter. So I don't know. That would be a good one. Who else is in the dunk contest, CH?
I think they got Oladipo, Mason Plumlee, and the Greek Freak.
Oh, Levine's going to kill that.
Levine, I mean, all you got to do is YouTube that dude's dunk contest. He, takes that shit serious.
He just sprained his ankle, though, and he missed this game, so I don't know.
He's the type of guy to sit out a couple games, so he'd be right for that.
Yeah. No, he's athletically, as far as, jumping ability, not power and strength, like on Westbrook's. I've seen the dunks. I mean, it's he's head is above the rim.
He does some wild 360s. He's really ambidextrous with the ball.
Well, I don't see Oladipo doing. I don't know.
Oladipo can
he can
ball,
get up.
man.
He can get up and stuff, but the dunk contest is different. You know what I mean? It's not a. And I don't see Plumlee, the Greek Freak. I don't see Levine's gonna run away with that. I think.
I think so too. I'm interested to see what Plumlee can do though, because he has some nice fancy dunks in games. He has a couple reverse dunks that I've seen that I'm like, ooh.
No one really gives a shit about a big dunking, though.
No, it's really hard to impress.
It's just sweet.
But Giannis is almost as big as him.
6-7 foot.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis is every bit as big as Plumlee. It's just the way they play.
Yeah.
Who's your 3-point guy, TK?
Yeah, what I was going to try and say, I think what this could segue into, since we all seem to like a different guy, and I'll take Curry. I think we should all throw 20 in the pot and see if whoever wins gets all of it. If one of our horses wins it. And if Bellinelli or Redick wins, then we'll just call it a wash.
Is Bellinelli in there?
Yeah, no. Bellinelli and Redick are in there. So
okay. Bellinelli's defending champ. You got to give him respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bellinelli can shoot.
He can.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The only reason I was taking Steph is just simply because he's already come out and said that he was pissed off he lost it last year. So
what was his performance like last year?
I thought he got to the title game, if I'm not mistaken, versus Bellinelli. So obviously seems a little butthurt about losing that. So if I'm going to get a motivated guy, and it's obviously a player as good as him, then I'll roll with him.
Okay,
Have you guys seen
you got Steph. Rory's got.
I'll take Korver.
And then I got Klay.
Yeah.
As long as you guys are ready to make it $20,000, not $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the ESPN clip that was on last week on the website? Just a 3-minute clip. Him and Steve Kerr have a free throw shooting contest. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, it's just after every practice they have a free throw shooting contest. They 10 shots, you get 1 point for a make, 2 point for a swish. And they're just, I guess, Steve Kerr's never beaten Steph ever, and it was good. It showed one of their contests, and Steph was just trying to make him hit the roof and just splashing him nothing but net, just so much arc just to show off. I mean, his stroke it's insane, and there's just no hitch in it. It's just so effortless.
Mm-hmm. We all know it, Rocky. We know you love Steph.
Steph is so
fantastic, though. But who do you
He's
think
magical.
Who do you think, Rory, is a better offensive player? I'm not talking about athletic ability and stuff, being able to get to the rim. I'm saying pure offensive ability. Who's a better offensive player?
Nobody.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Harden or
Durant?
maybe Durant. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those two. I think those two are the next. Those three. I
Just
think
with the ball,
are different than anybody in the NBA offensively. I think those three. Kobe when he was in his prime, obviously, because he had so many moves.
Right.
But I think those three are just on a different level offensively if you take away the athletic ability type aspect of things.
Well, that's what's cool too. Those players that can, age well, because of the skill sets they have. That's kind of how D Wade's doing it. You wouldn't say D Wade would be like that because he can't hit threes, but he's just so efficient in that mid range to close range where he's going to age really well. He'll be 55 at the rec center, just killing cats.
Paul Pierce.
Paul
Pierce,
the
yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
You know, TK had tagged me in an article about him, Paul Pierce talking about, you know, the top 5 toughest matchups for him. And if you guys haven't got a chance to check it out, just great insight on a guy who's guarded some of the best players in the game. And he kind of breaks down, you know, what each of those guys did differently and what made them so dynamic. And it was just great insight from, you know, the legend, Paul Pierce.
It's funny you say that because I read an article, the Klay Thompson article. I don't know if it was ESPN or Sports Illustrated not too long ago. They kind of interviewed him, asked him, you know, if he expected to have the year he did, and he just said, yeah. And he's really bold and like arrogant in it because he just said he was sick of biting his tongue. He felt like he was when he signed his contract, everybody hated on him, and he wanted to prove him wrong. But he said his toughest guard, one of his toughest guards, was Paul Pierce. Because he said he was just like really, yeah. He said he was really herky-jerky, super athletic. I think he even put Andre Miller in there as hard to guard because of just like the way their body moves. Like it's not quick, not fast, but they can change pace and do those kind of things. It was a good article. Yeah. And then it was funny too because the interviewer said something about, well, Steph's a pretty humble guy. And Klay said, you can't call a dude who takes the shots that Steph takes humble. He's the talkiest dude in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you think about it, that's true. Like, to be able to pull up from 30 feet, like, you got to be bold to be doing that.
Just hours in the gym. Countless hours.
And you can just watch that guy shoot, Jays, him and Klay. I mean, Golden State is just, I mean, they're just the best team in the league.
They played in the Jazz last night, and I should have went to the game. I didn't even know they were playing down there. I caught the game on TV.
Utah Jazz game. They got some talent over there.
Yeah, and Steph had a pretty good game. I think he went for like 34 points, but he had just one of those like 4-minute spurts where he just was on fire.
Okay, for our last segment of the podcast, all of us are going to end with our bold prediction before our next week's podcast. We'll start with Big TK. Lead us off.
I kind of started to dig into it, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Brian Shaw will definitely not be part of the NBA coaching circle by the time
like not a coach at all, or is someone going to pick him up as an assistant coach?
Generally, when you get fired, you usually don't get rehired on by somebody mid-season. So I think just by default, I think he'll be shown the door. Especially, I just think after these 2 lackluster performances, they've only scored, you know, not even hit 80 points in either game. I think that enough's been said about him. So I think
probably find his way over to New York, being some assistant.
Yeah, he'll be part of that triangle mess. So,
what if Nuggets management came up to you, TK, and said, "Hey, we'll fire him, but you have to do it for us"? Would you do it?
Yeah, I'd have no issue doing it.
What would you say to him?
I would say that I feel like he's not necessarily the fit for this organization. I don't think that all the failures are strictly on him, but I basically would say that we just need to find a better fit for this personnel. And I think that would be kind of the approach I would take with him.
B. Shaw, hit the door.
I wouldn't necessarily sit here and just bang on him, but I would just say, look, you're just not the right fit for this organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go next. I'm going to say Minnesota Timberwolves are going to trade one of their veterans. I'm going to go with Mo Williams. I don't really have a team. I'm going to say Houston, even though they already kind of made a trade with Minnesota, so it's probably unlikely he lands there. But I'm going to say Mo gets shipped out.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead, Rocky.
Roy.
Oh, okay. I'll take over here. I'm going to say that the Hawks are going to keep this going. They're going to reach 27 games.
Wow.
You killed me, Roy. That's what I was going to say. I was going to go 25, but you killed me.
I'm sorry, man. I mean, that winning streak is so impressive. That winning streak is so impressive, though, because it's not just the East. You know, they came out West and they had a long road trip and they won all the games, and a couple of them were by a large margin against top teams. So it was pretty cool to see. I think they're playing just amazing team ball. Just watching them play, like the ball is just flying. It looks like the Spurs, in the playoffs last year, where everyone just really trusts and believes in each other, and there's like 5 really good players in the court pretty much all the time. So it's just because they're so deep. They lost Cephalosha today, but for the most part, other than their small forward position, they're pretty locked in, really deep. So I wouldn't be surprised to see those guys win another 8 games in a row.
Yeah. I'll go out and say I think that Golden State will fall out of the 1 seed. I think Memphis is playing good ball right now. I could see Golden State kind of hit a little skid this last week, and all it takes is a loss or two, and Memphis is playing good ball. So that's what I'll go with.
Memphis is 2.5 back right now.
Yeah.
So how many weeks does it take for him to catch up?
2 weeks.
Our next podcast.
Really, I mean, it's like we talked about. 2 losses can
change everything.
Yeah.
Change everything in the way the West is so tight. If you look at the standings from like 7-2 right now, it's like 1-2 games separates 7 seed and 2 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's too bad we're not doing our podcast till next October.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Pass and Screen Away podcast, and we will definitely be back before next October.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
Peace.